Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've talked a lot about traffic cameras, red light cameras, speed cameras, those kinds of things on this channel. And I knew these existed, but we had not talked about them yet. And these are school bus cameras. Camera systems put on school buses to catch people who disregard the stop for school bus indicators. And so what will happen is if you go zooming past a school bus that's got one of these systems on it, it's supposed to take a picture of your vehicle and then do it in such a way that they can figure out who you are and send you a ticket. And the question is, how good are those tickets if you go to court and fight them? Because Jeff sent me a note and said, Steve, check the story out from the Times-Union written by Kathleen Moore. New York Appellate Division rules against school bus cameras in 3 different cases. Judges said camera recordings of cars passing school buses do not provide sufficient evidence for a conviction. And one judge dismissed all bus ticket cases on his docket last week. Literally just said they're all dismissed. Don't even bring them in here. So here's what's going on. The company that makes the cameras is trying to change its automated ticket program, according to an Albany County official, after tickets issued under it were tossed out 3 times in a state appeals court. In each of those cases, the panels of judges said the camera recordings of each car that passes the bus do not provide sufficient evidence for that to be the entire case. So don't get me wrong and don't get them wrong. If someone came into court and said, I am here to testify, I was there, I saw it happen, I am an eyewitness, this car went zooming by, the lights were on, I can recognize the car, I can recognize the driver, boom, 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 boom. Okay. But what they're doing instead was they've got a camera that just takes a photograph, and they would send, in essence, the photograph into court and say, that's proof. And the judge has said, not quite. So the court has dismissed 3 cases that came to that court on appeal. The most recent was February 8th, and local judges have noticed this. So a Colony Town judge dismissed all of the bus ticket trials on his docket last week. In each case, he asked the prosecutor whether he had any proof that students were loading or unloading during the filmed incident. So you got film of a car driving by a school bus. Okay, do you have proof that that happened while students were getting on or off, which is what's supposed to be happening when those lights go on? So that was one of the issues cited by the courts on appeal. In response, the company that runs the camera system is now offering more videos in what it is calling an enhanced evidence package. They made that change in the first week of February, according to a spokesperson. The enhanced evidence package includes additional video, elements to verify the vehicle involved is actually a school bus, which would help, and that the bus was stopping for the purpose of discharging or receiving passengers. The package was supposed to cover previous tickets as well as tickets issued after the change, but some tickets that have been presented in court recently did not have all of the new information. The company that created and markets the camera system would not return calls seeking comment, at least not as of press time. In these cases, the prosecutor submitted proof of the designated bus stops, but the judge rejected those arguments, saying he wanted specific proof about the specific instance involved in the ticket. So you get a notice that says, we got a photograph or video of your vehicle passing a bus when you shouldn't have, therefore you get this ticket. Pay it or fight it. So a lot of people paid these tickets not knowing that if they'd fought them, they'd get tossed. But let's follow this through like a game of chess to its obvious conclusion. So you show up in court and go, I'm here to fight this. And they say, okay, let's have a hearing. And the prosecutor presents evidence, which is a video showing your car passing a school bus. Well, passing a school bus by itself is not illegal. So by design, the camera footage does not show students getting on or off the bus, because when legislators authorized this system, they specifically banned it from taking any images of students on the grounds that those images should not be sent to strangers accused of driving around a bus. So they go, we got to protect the children, so we cannot photograph the children getting on or off the bus. So that's one of the elements that's necessary for there to be someone found responsible for this. The camera footage also does not show the side of the bus, which means it does not show whether the school bus driver turned on its flashing lights, which are supposed to go on 7 seconds before the bus stops. Making matters worse, the lack of side view means there's no proof the camera is on an appropriately marked bus. And again, that's important too. So in order for the owner of a vehicle to be found liable under the Vehicle and Traffic Code, the people must prove, among other things, that the operator of the vehicle violated vehicle and traffic law by not stopping for a stopped school bus marked and equipped as provided by law. Even if the proof need only establish substantial compliance, the trial evidence fell far short of that standard. Prosecution did not introduce any witnesses to attest to any of these facts. So they could have theoretically gotten convictions by simply bringing in the bus driver and saying, do you remember on this day this vehicle was zooming by you? Okay, do you see the video? Is that the car? Yeah. Were your lights activated? Yes. Why? Because I was unloading students or I was picking up students. Okay, that would do it. But of course, they don't want to drag the bus drivers in. But you just drag the driver of that car in, so... Each bus ticket case involves showing the video as well as a signed document from a technician who says they reviewed the video. But think about that kind of circular logic where I show a video to somebody who wasn't there, and they go, yep, I see the video. What does it show? And they sign an affidavit saying what it shows. Well, the judge has got eyes. The judge can look at the video. Prosecutors got eyes. They can look at the video. The defendant can look at the video. Having someone attest to what is in the video is pointless if that person wasn't there. The judges said the video recording was insufficient to prove these cases, and people who plead guilty to this have to pay $250. And so because it's a camera-based ticket, it is sent to the registered owner, not to whomever might have been driving at the time, which of course is another problem. Drivers do not receive any points on their license for such tickets. So we know this is all about revenue generation, but I just throw that in because it's obvious. Meanwhile, the company has paid to install it on school buses because it costs $10,000 per bus, but of course, I believe they get a slice of the revenue it generates. This system has been popular with many school districts, and many of them have joined in the past year. The company gets a contracted amount of each fee collected, i.e., they get a slice. Most contracts give the company 45% of the total. 45% of the total. So you get charged $250, and almost half of that goes to the company that installed the cameras, which aren't recording all the information necessary to get a conviction. And one thing I have to point out, and some people are unaware of this, but in most cases, when you're accused of a crime, the prosecution must prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a standard of proof you've heard many, many times. However, many traffic tickets aren't considered criminal offenses. They're often considered civil infractions. And a civil infraction is a much lesser thing. And in many places, a civil infraction is the preponderance of the evidence as a standard to be measured against. So, in other words, who is more likely right and who is more likely wrong? Which way do the balances tip? And if you tip the balances in your favor, you win, okay? So all a prosecution's got to prove in a case involving a civil infraction is more likely than not that the state is right and that the person is wrong. And so for a court to be throwing these out wholesale and saying, look, not enough here to get these people, I believe that indicates that they failed to reach even that low standard. And so it's kind of funny because one of the problems is that the rules say specifically they cannot film students. So then the question becomes, when you see a video of a car driving by a bus, that video doesn't prove that children are being loaded or unloaded. How do you do that? And so they got to figure out a way to fix that problem right off the bat. But also it says something about it doesn't show the side of the bus. And now I've seen school buses. I've seen school buses pull over and offload kids and pick up kids, and I've sat there and watched them do this. I've sat there and watched while a parent at a house 100 yards from the road walked very slowly out to the bus and talked to the bus driver for a few minutes, and then their kid got off the bus and then they walked away, and about 20, 30 feet up, then the bus shuts the lights off and starts driving again. So, I love watching these rural scenes unfold. And I've seen this all go on. But meanwhile, there's a sign on the side of the bus that's popped out. And in Michigan, it simply says stop. And it has a flashing light on it. So there's this literal stop sign and flashing lights. So if someone were to go driving by that and you got film of it, if you got the car and the flashing stop sign in the same shot, that would actually answer a lot of your questions. But I think as a judge, if I was sitting in judgment of this, I would still want to know that that sign was out properly. Because I can imagine a situation where somebody stops a school bus by the side of the road for whatever reason, and they don't realize that the sign's flipped out. Is that possible? It's possible. So I would like to see a little more evidence than simply somebody saying, yes, we've got video, and the machine's never wrong. The machine is only as good as the person who installed it, programmed it, designed it, and all that stuff. And once you let them loose in the world, they're not going to make things any better than what they are. So that's when the Times-Union, Kathleen Moore wrote that. They got some more work to do on them bus cameras, and we'll see how long that takes. But Jeff, thanks for sending it. New York Appellate Division rules against school bus cameras. And in several cases, judges said the camera recordings of cars passing school buses do not provide sufficient evidence for a conviction. And one judge dismissed every single bus ticket case on his docket last week. And right now, I feel so bad for all the people in that area who paid their tickets not knowing that all they had to do is contest it, and it would have been tossed. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Happiness is having a large, loving, close-knit family in another city.